Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, let me turn that down. I think I'm a little bit too hot right there, so let me turn that down to right there. See how that sounds there? Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in after another very disappointing loss last night. I am by myself, so let me check all of my levels here, make sure that I am good to go, and I am streaming. I am there. So what another just completely disappointing loss last night. No doubt about it. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But I'm going to be quite a bit different, I'm sure, than a lot of Dodgers fans today. Again, I am not discouraged whatsoever from what I am seeing from this Dodgers team, and I'm going to explain a lot of what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna. I'm not trying to be a cheerleader. I'm going to explain exactly where I'm at, and to be honest with you, I don't think anybody could change my mind in terms of my mentality of this team moving forward, the things that are coming together, and just kind of the way that things are right now for this team, which very, very frustrating. Not going to sugarcoat that, but frustrating to me. I don't really usually have frustration. I have anger and those kinds of things that are based on, overreaching things that I can't necessarily fix. But frustration to me is more motivation. It is kind of excitement for a new challenge for the next day, and that's kind of where I'm at with this team. I see a lot of things coming into and kind of coming together for this team, as weird as that sounds, that are actually things that need to happen for this team to win at the playoff level. And you're probably like, you are drunk. What the hell is the matter with you? You are just the dumbest son of a bitch I've ever heard in my life, because we have had a really patch right now. And I think Dave even used that term last night. Hey, they're going through it right now. Fine, it's baseball. It is what it is. Coming down to the short rows, if you will. So it is very urgent. But again, I'm going to say it again. I am encouraged by a lot of things that I'm seeing right now, and not necessarily as discouraged as a lot of other people are on some of the other negative things that are happening right now. So I'll say this. The bullpen is an unmitigated disaster, and so you say, well, you got to start right there. You cannot win games, certainly at the playoff level. We have seen it with the Phillies here in this series, and we've seen the Dodgers since, I believe I even said last night, I think it was 24 blown leads since July 4th. Worst, I think it's like the third worst in the major leagues. So that is absolutely a stat that has to change. Something has to change, and you're saying, well, the bullpen is what it is. They didn't go get help. Brock Stewart didn't necessarily throw great the other day or yesterday for AAA Oklahoma City in his first rehab outing. Bobby Miller, the wheels have come off. Kyle Hurt had his first real hiccup yesterday. I think Andrew Heaney could come up and give the team help. So I think right now, Will Klein also threw well too. But I think as far as if you wanted to replace somebody on the roster with somebody in AAA Oklahoma City, it would be either Brock Stewart at this point, or it would be Andrew Heaney at this point. I don't think it would be Bobby Miller. Kyle Hurt, I think, was a long shot to begin with, just because it's just not the way that the Dodgers do business in terms of rushing rookies up there and trusting them. Certainly in a playoff scenario when Kyle Hurt only has 8.1 innings. So I think if it's Oklahoma City help, and I'm trying to get this in Frank, so we're going to get to some of the Dave Roberts comments from the presser yesterday after the game, and I thought Dave was just absolutely spot on. I thought his comments I thought they showed great leadership, and I thought he addressed everything, and I thought everything was good from that perspective. So I think it would be Andrew Heaney. I think it would be Brock Stewart. Do I think those two are game changers? No. I mean, they could be, but I don't see them as game changers. We'll get into why I'm a little bit more confident and a little bit more upbeat about what the bullpen can do to fix some of these issues here in a minute. But for now, let's get to Dave Roberts' comments on the bullpen last night. You're not hearing that right now, so let me actually go ahead and fix that. Let me get the sound settings here and get that on. Give me just a second here. I will get that fixed, and I think you will see that. I will rewind that, and we will get Dave Roberts' comments on the bullpen.
They're lacking confidence. I think that it's kind of, they all want to pitch well. They all want the opportunities, and they're just kind of, they're not making good pitches when they need to, and a little careful.
So not confident. That is a big, big statement to make as a major league manager, especially when you have a bullpen that's coming off a World Series that was so good last year. It was so good, as a matter of fact, that they actually gave themselves their own name, the Bullpen Dawgs, right? So you go from being the Bullpen Dawgs one year to your manager with 10 games left in your regular season after you've blown 24 leads since July 4th, saying that this is a group that is not confident, okay? So I'm going to say this. Dave hit that right on the head. They're not making pitches. They're not confident right now. To me, that is just calling it what it is, okay? Yeah, this is a group that has talent. It's a group that is capable. But as of right now, they are not confident. Hey, let's get to our Super Chat. 300 GJW has a Super Chat here. Thank you so much for your wonderful $4.99. Assuming they get third seed, but even that's not certain. Dave is going to have to push his starter 7+ innings in the postseason. So that brings us into our next topic, and I know a lot of people are the clamor today, you know, and we always talk about this, how
but I'm not going to.
Water cooler. Let me actually stop that there. The water cooler talk the next day. When you're the manager of the Dodgers, you just have to put your big boy pants on. And this goes to 300 GJW's $4.99 Super Chat. Thank you so much for that Super Chat. In terms of, you know, the starters getting pushed a little bit further, I know a lot of people wanted Shohei Ohtani to go a little bit further than he did last night. I will get into my thoughts on that after we get Dave Roberts' comments on why he pulled Shohei Ohtani last night. So let's get to
But
that.
I'm not going to have a, plan for 5 innings and then he pitches well and say, hey, now you're going to go 6 innings. And then, he's too important. And if something does happen, then that's on me for changing it. And we haven't done that all year.
So just out of precaution, out of safety, Shohei Ohtani's way too important. He's coming off the Tommy John. I can't disagree with anything he said right there. I don't think anything he said is incorrect. I think it's the correct plan. And here's the other thing. Shohei Ohtani, here's kind of Dave's point on that. Ohtani's not going 9 innings. So somebody's going to have to come in after Shohei Ohtani, whether it's the 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. And Justin Robleski so if it's Justin Robleski, somebody was coming in. So regardless, whether it was the 6th inning, the 7th inning, the 8th inning, or the 9th inning, then that inning that Justin Robleski gave up was going to happen, because unless you can say, well, Ohtani's just going to go all 9 innings, then you're going to have to throw at least 2 relief guys. Robleski was going to be one of them. So regardless of whether he pulled Ohtani too early or not, which you can make an argument either way. Dave's argument is, hey, we haven't done it all year. We're not going to start it now. We're not going to risk losing Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs because he is going to be very valuable. Because of that, there's no reason to stretch him in that scenario because you don't want to lose him, and somebody has to come in anyways. So let me say this, okay? Shohei Ohtani can be a closer in the playoffs, but the problem with him being just a regular reliever is after he comes out, then you lose him, as you either have to put him in the field or you lose him altogether because you no longer have the DH. So I think there's a couple of options. Shohei Ohtani has said this. He's played some outfield in the past. Shohei Ohtani has said he would be up to playing outfield. So I think here's the perfect case scenario for Ohtani if he's not a starter. So he starts the game as the DH, which gives him the ability to go to the bullpen, warm up, or whatever if he's not hitting that inning. He comes in to pitch, and then after he pitches, he goes and plays the outfield the last couple of innings. And if it's 3-out scenario to where you just need 3 outs, you're not comfortable with him out there, I don't know why you wouldn't be. It's Shohei Ohtani. Then you can bring in a late-game defensive substitution like an Alex Call or somebody like that. Now, you wouldn't have Ohtani for the rest of the game, but if you're confident, hey, this is the last 3 outs or bust, then you could do something like that. So I think the role for Shohei Ohtani is going to be big. Pitching in the postseason, I think it has a chance to be one of a myriad of different things. He could be a starter, and I think in the playoffs, I think Dave said right there, he would be willing to push Shohei Ohtani to 7 innings. It's just not to that point right now, because if you look at it, the Dodgers can play a little bit of the big picture because they're not going to catch the Philadelphia Phillies. That loss in the first game of this series kind of clinched that. So you're not going to catch the Phillies. You're not going to get one of the first 2 seeds. You're going to have to play in the wild card. So now it's just about beating the Padres, okay? The Padres had already lost yesterday, and you're still 2 games ahead of the Padres. And so do you really want to risk losing Shohei Ohtani in a day to where even if you lost the game, you're still 2 up on the Padres, which means that you have the home field advantage through the wild card round. So that's the problem there. And so I think that's kind of the reasoning there. Whether you agree with that or not, that's where Dave's at. I have no problem with anything that Dave has said to this point in the press conference. I think his reasoning is sound. Hey, we haven't done it to Ohtani yet this year. This was not a big enough game in terms of impacting what the postseason would look like to risk putting Ohtani out there and setting him back from an injury perspective. If it's the second round of the playoffs, I can understand. But as of right now, you still have 10 games left. Unless, and even if the Padres do jump you, you're still in the same situation. You just don't have home field advantage. So I don't have any problems with the explanation that Dave gave there in terms of why he left Ohtani in. You might, if you do, leave a comment in the chat. We have a wonderful chat logging in. And so another comment that Dave made that I think I probably disagree with out of all the things that he said last night the most is that Dave said that we still have time to get things figured out. Here you go.
There's a lot of guys that have experience. There's some guys that have had nice years that are young players. So I do believe that there's time.
10 games left, man. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, time, what are you talking about? I mean, you talking about 1 or 2 more outings? I mean, is there time for Kyle Hurt to prove that he could be on the postseason? Is there time for Brock Stewart to prove that he's ready to come back, although he didn't look good for AAA Oklahoma City, although he did go scoreless last night? I mean, is there time for Tanner Scott to get back on the trust tree to be the closer? Time for what? I mean, I get it that there's time for this team to still get better and to become closer to the better version the best version of itself, which I think at this point, I thought just a good version of this team would be a potential World Series champion. I think it's going to take a great version of this team to win that same World Championship now. So time for what? I think that's a little bit too non-urgent for me as an answer to say, hey, there's time. I think right now you need to be saying, boy, I don't know. I mean, we've got to get things figured out, and we've got to do it in a hurry, and we have to have a sense of urgency behind it. And so that kind of brings you into, if you've heard me talk in the last week or so, one thing that I've said is because the Dodgers are still in first place, even though they haven't been playing good and or they've been playing inconsistently, regardless of all of that, I still say I'm not going to spend time in the past because you don't have to. The past has not buried you. You still have a 2-game lead on the Padres. You can't catch the Phillies. And so nothing in the past, right, that you could even look back on really is anything worth even looking at. So what you have to do is you have to have a short memory. You have to look into the future, and you have to think, what can this be moving forward and not what has it been in the past. So I have had that theme for about 2 weeks now, and to be honest with you, you're going to hear something familiar coming out of Dave Roberts' mouth from last night's
For me, it's
post-game.
trying to, get these guys to understand that what's done in the past, it has to be behind them, and they've got to have a short memory.
What's done in the past is behind them, short memory. And then so there is a kind of a underlying message to each player, specifically a guy like maybe a Blake Trinan, certainly a Tanner Scott, who had a good outing last time, hasn't been great before that. Hey, it doesn't matter, because if Tanner Scott from here on out, whatever he's done to this point, if he's great from here on out, that's the only thing that matters, right? So that's what he's saying there for Justin Robleski. Hey, you can't sit around and dwell on giving up 5 runs and going nuclear last night. You can't dwell on that. You can only worry about the next outing. Jack Dreyer, Anthony Bonda, perfect case scenario. They got back into the successful category last night because they moved on. And then overall as a team, that's my theme. Nothing in the past is going to be able to affect the future because, again, you're not going to catch the Phillies. You're not going to catch the Brewers. And you're still ahead of the Padres. So from that perspective, I love that message from Dave Roberts in terms of we've just got to look forward. We got to keep moving forward. We got to get guys like Tanner. He didn't say names specifically, but we got to get guys like Blake Trinan, Tanner Scott, maybe a Justin Robleski from last night. Jack Dreyer and Anthony Bonda, Alex Vesia, who gave up runs their outing before that. We have got to get them into that mind frame of, if you have a bad outing, it's a bad outing. You wash it, you move forward. Because as you get into the short rows like we are right now, that's the only thing you can do, and that's the only thing that matters is what you do next. Coach Holt always calls that a next pitch type of mentality. So another thing that I found interesting in terms of what Dave said last night, you have all these Hall of Famers. You have all these great players. You're in first place. You won a World Series last year. You've won 2 out of the last 5 World Series. And one thing that he said was, you have to stay confident. Let's listen to what he had to say about that.
The group is sort of going through it right now, and they've got to kind of find a way to remain confident. And like I said, just kind of let go of, the recent baggage, because at times each one of these guys has been fantastic.
I love the fact that instead of saying because each one of these guys have struggled, which puts a negative thought into your mind, he says because each one of these guys has been fantastic. So the message that he's giving to his team is, we have to move forward. We have to move on. What's in the past is in the past, and we have to do it trying to build on the things that we have been good at, trying to build on the positives. That is the absolute best way to move forward from frustrations like the Dodgers have had. Now, will it work? Who knows? You never know how anything will work. There's no guarantees to anything. But I can guarantee you from my experience around the game, coaching, managing, playing, that is the absolute best way to at least try to figure out things as you move forward, is to say the past is the past. We're going to dwell on the things that we have done well. We're going to dwell on the positives to try to build on them to create the best versions of yourself. So if you go back to this press conference, and I wanted to cut it up and I wanted to play it, because I'll just tell you what, this was big time leadership from Dave Roberts. It was the exact message that each player needed. It's the exact message that a fan like me that kind of goes to him and listens to him for, okay, what's the plan moving forward type thing. It was perfect. It was the perfect message. Now, I'm going to say it again. Does that make me feel like things are going to get fixed? I don't know. Nobody knows. What Dave's telling you here is he doesn't know if things are going to get fixed. The players don't know if this is going to get fixed. But we do know that we are going to give our best effort in remaining positive with it and focusing on the positives to move forward so we can create the best version of ourselves. That is absolutely tremendous leadership. Again, it was another one of those scenarios where you had to feel terrible for Blake Trinan. His post-game conference was just gut-wrenching. I mean, absolutely gut-wrenching from the perspective of you have to love Blake Trinan, but this is a dog-eat-dog world. This is a business. And so you either produce or we got to find somebody else. So as much as you love Blake Trinan, you got to be thinking, hey, man, certainly I said yesterday, you can't put him in the extra innings because he doesn't hold runners. So that place runner is just going to run to third base. So that's one. Then I said yesterday, you got to put him in sooner rather than later because of that. Well, you put him in sooner, and then he gives up the 3 runs in the 9th inning last night and the home run to a guy that, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, it looked like a good swing and all that, and it wasn't a terrible pitch, but still you give up the 3 runs and the home run. You put the Dodgers behind the 8 ball, and you're not going to score on Johan Duran 2 days in a row, and you're certainly not going to do it when it's a 3-run spread like it was after the home run last night. So you got to make tough decisions. Blake Trinan's in your trust tree. He's been awesome. He helped you win a World Series last year, but use your eyes. You got to see what you got to see. You can't be sentimental to the fact that the guy's a totally stand-up dude, that he's an awesome dude, that he's a guy that you love. He's a Dodger through and through. You got to make the right decision for the team. So the thing about it is right now, and Steven Nelson mentioned this last night, the bullpen is the part of this that is the biggest head-scratching part of the equation because, like he said, and I've used this term many different times about this year, it's the whack-a-mole. So, you get Jack Dreyer and Alex Vesia fixed, and then Justin Robleski starts failing, or has a bad outing. Justin Robleski's been good, and then Jack Dreyer and Alex Vesia and Anthony Bonda have a bad outing. Anthony Bonda and Alex Vesia and Jack Dreyer have a bad outing, and then Tanner Scott has a good outing. Then Tanner Scott has a bad. So it's just back and forth and back and forth. It's that whack-a-mole game right now with the bullpen, and I'm going to say it again. This is another reason why I wanted to play these clips from Dave Roberts. You can tell he is trying to build confidence in his team by being a great leader, by being a positive influence for them, by showing them support, showing them that, hey, I'm moving on, you need to move on too. We're going to dwell on the positives for the future. But you know what you also didn't hear in his voice? You did not hear answers. He doesn't have answers. I don't have answers. You don't have answers. AAA Oklahoma City, the Comets don't have answers. The players right now don't have answers. Blake Trinan told you right there, hey, nobody's even talked in the locker room yet because we don't have answers right now. So there are not answers right now, but what there are a group of people that are tough-minded. They're strong. They've been here before. They're experienced. They know what they're doing, and they have the right plan in place. The right plan in place does not mean, I'm going to say this again, does not mean that things will automatically get better. This may flame out. The Padres may catch the Dodgers. Hell, the Padres might end up with the home field advantage in the wild card series and kick the Dodgers' ass, and this thing may flame out. I don't know. But all I know right now is, as a fan, I'm going to continue to support this team. I see a lot of positives that I'm going to get into that this team, I think, can build on. I see some reasons why I think you can maybe think that there's a chance that this bullpen might get fixed, and then we'll move on from there. So reason number one, let me get into this, okay? Yeah, thank you, Cindy, for joining the show here. We'll get into some of the chat here in just a minute. Here is one, and Craig Osterberg just took the words out of my mouth. It's called the Piggyback system. So what's going to happen is, in a 3-game series, if you do math, you only need 3 starters, correct? And so let's say those starters are Yamamoto, Ohtani, and Glasnow. So that leaves Blake Snell, or whoever it may be. Just substitute whatever names you want. So at that point, that leaves you your 3 other starters left, Emmett Sheehan, whoever it may be, and you can have what's called a piggyback system. What Craig is saying here is that what a piggyback system is you actually have 2 starters. So if you have a 3-game series and 6 starters, that leaves you 3 extra starters. Well, some might say, well, you're going to leave 3 starters off the roster. No, you're not. Not if it's me making the decisions. What you're going to do is you're going to keep those 3 starters, and instead of using your bullpen guys, what you're going to do is you're going to use 2 starters per game. You're going to have one starter go 4 innings, the other starter go 5, or one starter go 5, the other starter go 4. It's called a piggyback. Or maybe they both go 3.5, maybe they both go 4, and use one bullpen arm, right? So that is one way in which the Dodgers are going to be able to fix this bullpen, is by using their starters that they aren't going to throw in a 3-game series as piggyback starters, bulk inning guys that will eat up those innings instead of the bullpen arms. Even if it's a 5-game series, okay, still, you're not going to need all 6 starters. So a guy like Emmett Sheehan or whoever else is not one of your, let's say you need 4 out of your 6 starters to pitch in a 5-game series, you're still going to have 2 starters left that can bump to the bullpen. So instead of Robleski throwing those bulk innings last night, now it's Emmett Sheehan. So I think one big weapon that Dodgers fans need to take into consideration that might fit, again, everything's a might. There is no guarantees here. We mentioned that might fix this situation moving forward, is the fact that Emmett Sheehan is going to be a guy that is going to pitch a lot of high leverage innings, and I think he has shown that he could be very good. Also imagine Clayton Kershaw coming out of the bullpen and him being a bullpen arm. So you're going to add probably I think guaranteed you're going to add both Clayton Kershaw and Emmett Sheehan to your bullpen, even in the 5- and 7-game series. I think you're going to add maybe even an Ohtani to that in a 3-game series. So imagine Blake Snell throwing the first 5 innings and Shohei Ohtani throwing the last 4 innings in a 3-game series against the Padres, or it wouldn't be the Padres. I guess it'd be the Mets or whoever it may be. That is reason right there to think, at least in a 3-game series, this Dodgers team has enough pitching just in its starters, which has been the part of the thing about the pitching is the starting pitching has been consistently great all year. So the Dodgers have enough pitching just in their starting rotation to get through a 3-game series without ever even touching their bullpen, or at least minimizing the amount of time that they have to use their bullpen. Now you go to a 5-game series. That can, now you still have probably at least Clayton Kershaw, at least Emmett Sheehan, who dumps down to the bullpen. They can be piggyback guys. That means that you can really match up the rest of the. So if Emmett Sheehan piggybacks one game, if Clayton Kershaw piggybacks one game, that leaves you basically about 2 games in that series where you got to figure out how to use the 2 or 3 best arms in your bullpen, and that's it. So basically, by having so many good starters, the Dodgers can map a plan in the postseason to only use their best arms. And then, inevitably, the Dodgers will hit 5 or 6 home runs in one game. Of course, I'm giving you the map as to how this would work or could work to get the Dodgers across the finish line here. Inevitably, you have 2 or 3 games in a 5-game series where you hit 5 or 6 home runs. You have a comfortable game because your starter's really good, and you're able to use some of your downstaff bullpen guys. That needs to happen too. So if you can have a game or two in a 5-game or 7-game series to where you play really good offense, you hit some home runs, you have a comfortable lead, you can get to your downstaff bullpen, then you're going to have 1 or 2 other games where you only need to use your top 2, maybe 3 bullpen arms. Then the rest of it is covered by all your starters that aren't starting, because it's a 5-game series and you don't need all 6 starters for that series. So that's what's going to happen to this Dodgers bullpen moving forward. That's what I'm excited about. That's what I think will, or has the best opportunity to fix what you're seeing right here. And that's the plan moving forward. And that's why I think Dave is exactly right, where you say, hey, you got to move forward. You have to have a short memory. You can't dwell on the past, and you got to build on your positives. Those are the positives for me. And offensively, Tommy Edman last night, Andy Pages, they had good games. They hit Tommy Edman hit a home run. Andy Pages had the huge game the other night. They're showing that they can create length. Teo's hitting better. Mookie's hitting better. Who knows what you're going to get out of Max, but hey, you've had good games from Freddie Freeman. Shohei Ohtani is the best player probably in all of baseball. So I think you're seeing a lot of positives with this offense in terms of creating length and creating an offense, too, that not only can hit home runs, but that can be a complete offense where they can execute. They can do some of the baseballish type things that you need to win the close games. So I'm very pleased, honestly, with what I'm seeing with the offense. I'm pleased with what I'm seeing with the starting pitching. I'm pleased with what I'm seeing with the message from Dave Roberts. And I'm pleased with the fact that I just think that by bumping starters down into the bullpen, having piggyback games instead of bullpen games, that's going to tremendously give this bullpen an opportunity to fix a lot of the things that we have absolutely seen lately. So that's why I am extremely positive moving forward. That's why I'm excited. That's why I'm not going to dwell on the past. You can have your own prerogative. That's just me. You can disagree. If you do, put it in the chat. I'll get to the chat here in a minute. So first bad outing for Justin Wroblewski in a while. The thing about that is you got to go right back to him, because with these young guys or any player, if every time they struggle you just say, hey, we don't trust you anymore, then you're going to have a guy who is afraid to fail. And Dave actually used that term with his bullpen arms, like you can't be afraid to fail. So you got to continue to trust Wroblewski. You got to throw him back out there just like you did Jack Dreyer, just like you did Alex Vesia, Anthony Bonda, just like you did Blake Trinan, like you've continued to do with Tanner Scott. You got to throw him back out there. You got to let him work through the down patches, because we know when Justin Wroblewski goes nuclear, he goes very nuclear, meaning his bad outings are outings that are they just get way away from him. Like he needs to get it to where his bad outings are like giving up 2 runs, not 5 or 8 runs, right? But still, you got to go back to Wroblewski. He's been good all year. You can't send the message that, hey, you can't have one bad outing or we're done with you. So that would kind of be my deal there. Another thing, Kike hit a home run last night. It kind of gave the feel of, hey, this is Kike's time of year, that magical time of year for him. And so I thought that was a positive as well. And so I thought there were some good positives On the offensive side, I think there's been some good positives for, a while, at least inconsistently, but I think there's some positives to look at offensively. And then we talked about the pitching just a minute ago. Here's another interesting part of this. This is probably not a positive. This is probably more of a negative. If you look at the wild card standings, guess who is on the doorstep? A week ago it was the Giants. The Giants came into the Dodgers series actually in the second game on the Saturday game. If the Giants would have won, they would have actually jumped the Mets to be the last wild card. You know who's in that spot now? The D-backs. And so the D-backs now are just a game and a half back, and that's troubling because they do a lot of things that give the Dodgers a lot of problems. And the Dodgers have a 3-game series next week with the D-backs. So you look at the Dodgers schedule, you've got the Phillies, then you've got the Giants, you got the D-backs, and then you got the Mariners. Damn, that's tough. That's really tough. And so when you look at the Padres, they've got another couple of games with the Mets. Then the Padres have, I believe, the White Sox, and then they have the D-backs as well. So I think if you compared schedules from here on out, the Padres probably have the favorable schedule from here on out. So the Dodgers are going to have to play better than the Padres. It's just a good thing that San Diego has absolutely not hit a stride here in the last 3 months, really, because if San Diego, I think if either team, whether it be the Dodgers or San Diego, had played their potential for, say, like a month solid, I think either team would have a 4 or 5 game lead right now. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. So the team that I'm worried right now about is the D-backs. So yeah, the Dodgers, 4 with the Giants, 3 at the D-backs, both teams. So I mean, 4 with the Giants. That's a team fighting for its life. D-backs, a team fighting for its life. Mariners, a very good team, maybe the best offensive player in baseball this side of Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge in Cal Raleigh. I said earlier that I thought that Will Smith was the better catcher. That went away a long time ago. Cal Raleigh is the best catcher in the game, and it's not even close at this point. Padres 2 left, the Mets, White Sox, and the Brewers and D-backs. So Brewers and D-backs, the Brewers are likely going to have pretty much everything sewn up by then. We'll see how much motivation they have. It's a D-backs team that's likely going to be fighting for its life in that last series against the Padres. So not an easy finish for the Padres, but they do have that series with the White Sox where they need to make hay. They did not look good last night against the Mets. So the Padres, what the Dodgers need to do is they need to win tonight. They need to take a 3-game. They need the Mets to beat the Padres, take a 3-game lead into this last couple of series. And I think that's probably a little bit too big of a margin, the way that the Padres have not been able to get consistent. I mean, I think at that point the Padres would have to win like 8 or 9 in a row to catch the Dodgers, and I don't think that's going to happen because it hasn't happened really. I mean, they haven't really shown that they have the consistency piece to it. So I think this next couple of days is big, and it's going to be really fun to watch things go down the stretch. Hey, we have a wonderful Down the Farm today. We're going to cover Brock Stewart. We're going to cover Andrew Heaney, Kyle Hurt, Bobby Miller, Will Klein, Alex Freeland, and Zaire Hope. So a star-studded and a packed Down on the Farm today. No doubt about that. But as of right now, we have just a wonderful crowd logged in. I am so thankful for all of you wonderful Dodgers dogs for chiming in. Hey, get on the social media, get on the text message. Let everybody you know that Dodgers Dogs is on the air, so let's have at it. No Name says, wild card exit. Good morning to you, No Name. Thank you so much for joining. Hey, Shelly Lawrence says, I'm so sad, Seabad. The Dodgers bullpen is like having a dog that won't stop chewing up the couch pillows. That's funny, Seabad. We have 2 pit bulls, 1 male and 1 female, and literally my mouse that I use, okay, I have to put it in the drawer because my dog will go get it and chew it and kill it. We have to literally put up every single couch pillow, and we have to put it up at a height to where our dog can't get to it because otherwise it'll tear it up. His name's Barn. He's one of the Dodgers dogs that you see. He's the one that yells the most whenever we're ready to go on a walk. So that's funny that you say that, Seabad, because that's exactly like the bullpen for the Dodgers is exactly like my Dodgers dog Barn, who absolutely tears up all of our couch pillows every time that we forget and leave them on. That is a hilarious thing to say, Seabad. A+ stuff there. won't stop chewing up the couch pillows. No doubt about that. Hey, Kill a Noise, good morning to yourself. No name, most annoying loss of the season. I think probably the low point was the walk-off in Baltimore. I think that was the kick in the gut. That was the lowest point. The Phillies are good, man. I mean, and it's just, they're good. You know, I have not had any kind of negative thoughts or negativity or being, you know, you saw me Saturday. I was very pissed on Saturday morning just because I thought it was a loss that could have been avoided with the correct decisions. I haven't felt any of those negative, frustrated, mad type of emotions against the Phillies. I just haven't, because I see some things that can be corrected. I see things that are going to naturally get corrected, and then I see other things that actually have been corrected. And so that's kind of the way where I am at right now. Shelley Lawrence says, Casey, please say things to make us feel better. I appreciate you being level-headed, says Kill a Noise. Yeah, I don't know if it's level-headed or if it's just me being in the game my whole life. I'm just trained to think like Dave and to think, hey, we can't do anything about what happened last night, so why don't we focus on what we've been doing well and try to be better today, because the only thing that matters is today. So no name, thank God it was a regular season game, no doubt. Eric Flores, no name, wasn't the no-hit game annoying? Yes. Kill a Noise, we have Dodgers fans jumping off the bandwagon. Trust the process and get ready for the playoffs. That's a great take, Kill a Noise. That's another example of why Dodgers Dogs, as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, is A+, no doubt about it. No name, get Kyle Tucker next year. There you go. I can't wait another 40 years without a World Series. Hey, no name, you won't have to wait. This generation of Dodgers is going to win more than just last year. And they're going to continue to add to this roster. This is a front office that has shown you they are not going to sit still. They are not going to get complacent. They will keep getting better, and they will keep making this roster better every single year. They will tighten the reins in the offseason. They'll take inventory. They'll evaluate what went wrong if things don't work out this year, and they will do their best to fix the problems. Hey, let me put it to you this way. I was all for re-signing Blake Trinan. I was all for signing Teo Hernandez. I was all for signing Tanner Scott. We were all for signing Shohei Ohtani, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, Blake Snell. We were all for that, right? Everybody was. Matter of fact, to the point where everybody thought the Dodgers were buying a world championship. It just so happened it hasn't worked out exactly the way that we thought it would. That's not really anybody's fault, to be honest with you. That's on the players. They haven't performed the way that they're supposed to. Having said that, that doesn't mean they won't next year if things don't work out this year. That doesn't mean that the Dodgers go out and get a left fielder that is really good next year, or whatever the case may be. This front office has shown they will go get the pieces that they feel like they need to go get to make the Dodgers the best roster in baseball, and they will do it again in this offseason, where I probably have my biggest beef for them. And I understand what they're saying. I said it was going to happen when it first came, whenever the extra wild card round came in. I said this would happen. The Dodgers needed to be more aggressive at the trade deadline. I understand why they're not, because they're artificially inflated prices for players, because there's so many more teams that are in the playoff run because of the wild cards being open. And so therefore they've just kind of made a hard pat stance that we're just not going to overpay. We're not going to give up Zaire Hope and Josue De Paula for even a Steven Kwan. We're just not going to do it. So they made that stance this year, and they will have to live in that nest, and they will have to live in that bed that they created if the Dodgers don't do well. But they will fix things in the offseason. They have shown you every single year that they will do that. Hey, I just want some clarity why Robo is given such a long leash. Now, that's one thing that Dave Roberts did not give clarity to, is because that's a great point, Eric. That's actually on my show notes. Another example of why Dodgers Dogs, as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, is so fantastic. So Justin Robleski has shown that he's been very, very good, but then his blow-up outings are just nuclear, right? I mean, the 8, the 5, the whatever it is. So if you do throw Justin Robleski in the playoffs, okay, and he starts struggling at all, Eric, you cannot have any kind of leash for him. He has shown you that this thing will go straight sideways, and it will go nuclear. So if you do put Justin Robleski in the playoff basket, in the playoff trust tree, it is with the shortest of leashes. And you say, Robo, we love you, we trust you, but here's the facts. Whenever you've gone sideways, you've gone very sideways. And so you have a short leash, whether you like that or not, go out and shove. So the point to that being is, yes, he had a long leash last night. I don't have the answer for why he had the long leash. Dave did not address that. But I think that's another example of that leash has to be minuscule, minute, if Justin Robleski is in any kind of big situation in the playoffs. That is an absolute great point there, Eric Flores. At this point, give Phillies the wins so they get the number 1 seed and take your chances with the Brewers. That's in the divisional series. That's a good point there. That's just, Eric, those are 2 comments that are elite right there, man. That is awesome stuff, dude. Thank you so much. Hey, Seabat, every time I get frustrated with the Dodgers, I go back and watch the 2024 World Series Game 5, top of the 5th inning. Great therapy. And we can all come together and cuss and discuss and bitch and moan on Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. And we can kind of be therapeutic that way. Hey, No Name says, LOL, my bro and me knew the bullpen was going to blow it. Yeah, they've blown, I think it's now 24 leads since August, I think July 4th. Don't exactly quote me on that. I think that's correct, though. And I think that's the third worst, or the third most, you should say, in the major leagues during that time. Yeah, Eric Flores says, bullpen dung beetle. Yeah, No Name. We couldn't trade 1 or 2 of our outfield prospects to get a solid reliever. You are preaching to the choir. The guy you saw last night, of course, Andy Paez hit a home run off of him on Monday, and so they're all fallible. They all nobody's perfect. But Johan Duran, I wanted him so bad. Just go back. I got the receipts. I didn't care who you gave up. Go get him. That's who I wanted. I think Johan Duran by himself would have solved a lot of problems with this team, and I just don't understand why a guy that was still at the single-A level, you view that person or that player in the same vein you would a Johan Duran who would make such a huge impact. That part of it doesn't make sense to me, but that's the decision the front office made. I still disagree with it. We'll see how it works out. Maybe I end up being the one that's wrong on this particular situation. So far, I haven't been. So far, it has proven out to me that they should have been aggressive at the trade deadline, and that by not being aggressive, it's coming back to bite them in the butt. But we'll see. Hey, Casey, thoughts on Zaire Hope? He looks good in Double-A. Yes, he does look good. We'll get into him here in a minute on our Down the Farm. He is part of the Down the Farm that we have today. Hey, Roberts explained the Ohtani move, and people need to realize that. Trust the process. I agree, Illinois. That's why I wanted to play all these clips from Dave Roberts earlier today. Shelly Lawrence, thank you so much for the wonderful super chat. What a great crowd we have logged in. This showing my appreciation for your insight, level-headedness, and making me feel better. Shelly, I'm glad that the perspective that I'm giving here, this is the perspective that I grow from being in the game my whole life. I'm glad that it's sinking in and that you enjoy it and that you're enjoying today's show, and thank you so much for that wonderful super chat. That is absolutely awesome. Illinois says 5 innings has been the max for Ohtani, regardless of pitch count. Yeah, so that's what Dave's saying is we're not going to go from 5 to 7. We're going to go from 5 to 6. And going from 5 to 6, you still have to cover 3 innings. So Robleski's still going to have to throw, so that blow-up is still going to happen. No matter when you take him out, that blow-up was still going to happen from Justin Robleski. Because you're not going to go from 5 to 8. You're going to go from 5 to 6. So you're still going to have to cover 3 innings. Paris Beats says, dumb move by Dave Roberts pulling Shohei after a solid 5 innings. But again, Paris, I'm going to push back. You're not going to go 7 or 8 innings with Ohtani. You're going to go maximum of 6. You're still going to have to cover 3 innings, which means Justin Robleski is still going to probably cover 2 of those. You're still going to have the same blow-up that you had last night. So even if Dave Roberts goes with Shohei Ohtani, an extra inning, nothing changes other than the fact that you just added 1 inning of stress on Ohtani's arm. So I'm going to push back on that. I'm on Dave's side on this deal. I think he made the right decision. Sometimes the right decision just doesn't work, and I'm going to say this, that's on the player. I love Robo, you know that. And if Robo were part of this show, you know what Robo would say? He would say, hey, that's not on Dave Roberts. That's on Justin Robleski. That's on me. I'm going to throw that one on Robo and just say, hey, Robo's got to produce right there. He's got to perform. I think he would say that too. Stop motion, hooray. I could see Roberts choosing to risk games in hopes of making sure the bullpen is right come postseason by putting them through hard situations and hoping they learn and improve from it. I agree. That's called big picture. Dave Roberts has too much big picture. I think sometimes probably his blind spot. The two blind spots he has is he's a veteran hugger. He goes with veterans blindly sometimes, and then also I think he's a little bit too big picture at times too. Hey, stop motion, hooray, says also risk messing with the team's confidence and psyche for the postseason. I mean, if they run into the Phillies in the playoffs, I think we'll see. I think it'll be a different team. This is a veteran team that knows how to win. That's kind of why Coach Barikoff always says, hey, just make the playoffs, because this is a team that once they make the playoffs, they'll know how to handle themselves. They will not be intimidated by the Phillies. I don't think this series will have anything to do with that. No name, this would have probably been a sweep. The bullpen can lock it down, probably, yeah. Regular season's almost done. Time to get it together. Time to get it together now. No doubt about that. Anthony DeSantis, thank you so much for joining. Always wonderful comments from Anthony. Can you please give us a rundown of what pitching possibilities are in Oklahoma City? We're going to go through all of that on today's Down the Farm here in just a minute, Anthony. We're going to cover Brock Stewart, Andrew Heaney, Kyle Hurt, and Will Klein. We're going to cover all those guys here in a minute. Getting through the chat. As soon as I'm through the chat, we are going to do that. The magic number to clinch the division, I will have to look that up. We may go live with Austin tonight, and if we do, I'll make sure we have that information ready then. Thankfully, the starters and finally the offense are the strong suits, yes, and I think the bullpen has a chance to get solved because some of your starters are going to get bumped to the bullpen. Deuce, thank you so much for joining. What a wonderful crowd we have logged in. All these motivational ideas are great, but we are in the middle of September. At some point, slogans let's see, slogans, and I think it says pats on the back need to be replaced by real adjustments. Give the starters more innings. He has done that. Deuce, just look back. Just not Shohei Ohtani, and that's why he's explaining because of the injury factor. If you look at the innings the starters have eaten up in the last month, that absolutely 100% has happened. So I would push back on that and say Dave actually has given quite a few more innings to the starters as of late. He just chose not to with Shohei Ohtani, but I think that is an isolated incident because I think he just didn't feel like the risk factor was worth what you would gain out of that. I totally agree. I think looking too big picture is one of Dave's blind spots. I would not push back on that, but I think in this particular series, I do think Dave has pushed his starters quite a bit further. Hey, this just proves the starters are going to have to go 8 or 9 innings. Don't trust the bullpen. And or Craig, it's going to be one of your other starters coming in as a piggyback start, as a bulk inning guy. So, like, if you do take out, say, a Blake Snell after 5 innings, like he did last time, then it would be Emmett Sheehan covering the next 4, right? So basically like you said earlier in this show, Craig, basically 2 starters in 1 game. Hey, Neil Casamoto, he takes starters out too early and leaves struggling relievers in. I would disagree with that. I just don't think he's done that in the last month. Maybe I'm wrong, but go back and look through the game logs and look how long the starters have covered in the last month or so, and I just don't think that's a correct statement to make at this point. I think it was probably correct last night, but I don't think overall lately that's a correct statement. Hey, Robert said there isn't a lot of confidence in the pen. That's calling them out. Now, I think it's just telling the truth. I just think it's kind of being a leader and saying, hey, this is where we're at. This is how we're going to approach this. This is how we're going to move forward. Then if you noticed, he pivoted to, we have to just move on from the past. We can't dwell on the past. And we have to basically what he said was, we have to focus on the positives to create a positive future for us and not dwell on the past. So I thought David Roberts handled all those comments just absolutely spot on. I thought that's why I wanted to play these clips. I thought his leadership in that press conference shined through. I thought it was one of his best press conferences he's ever done. I thought he just showed tremendous leadership. So that's where I'm at right there. Deuce says it's pretty simple. Our starters are flat better pitchers than our relievers. No doubt about that. Forget the analytic and third time through. Totally agree. Win or lose with your best guys. 1,000%. That is a elite 100% comment. Let me add to that, Deuce, that in a 3-game series, the Dodgers have 6 starters. That means you're going to have 3 other starters that can also come in as piggyback guys. So you can throw 2 starters in 1 game and get bulk innings from 2 different pitchers. That's part of the reason why I am not dejected today. I think that's a big part of the solution for this bullpen. They need Seabad says they need an Elsa from Frozen and let it go. I totally agree. Al Minerva, thank you so much for joining. Dodgers 2 Showtime fans, Clayton Kershaw's bullpen. See, Clayton Kershaw, maybe Shohei Ohtani. Definitely Emmett Sheehan, they are moving to the bullpen in the playoffs. 3 of them in a 3-game series will be in the bullpen. So you won't have to rely on these bullpen arms. You're going to be relying on the best pitchers you've had all year, which are your starters, whether they're in a starting role or relieving role. That's the exciting part of this, that's what should give you optimism that there is a solution to this that you have seen with your own eyes, and it's not just throwing out scenarios that might work. You've seen this with your own eyes, how that could work. Hey, piggyback flaws that you are pre-planning when to take out your starter. Not necessarily. That doesn't have to happen. I understand what you're saying. I can tell you this, though. I've seen a bunch of piggybacks at the minor league level, and I can tell you that there is no pre-plan. I mean, there is a pre-plan, but it doesn't always go that way. So, like, you have one guy goes 5, the other guy goes 4. He may go 4, then 5. It may go 6. It may go 3. It may go 3. It may go 6. That part of it will be up to Dave. I promise you that will be. They will not pigeonhole themselves to say, hey, if this guy is throwing well, then we're just going to throw the next guy because we think we just mapped out 4 innings for the next guy. I don't think that will happen. The piggyback concept is not one that pigeonholes yourself like that. All the piggyback concept is that you have guys that are normally starters, which means they're used to throwing bulk innings, and you have 2 guys that day are going to throw bulk innings. Bulk innings meaning typically more than 2, right? That's all that means. That doesn't mean you have to piggyback yourself into it. Too many starting pitchers with injuries, concerns, histories of misses from Friedman. Al Minerva is disgusted by the pen, as well you should be. They are disgusted with themselves. Blake Trinan said that point blank. How do you get over the short rest that ensues? It says, Ohtani, boy, hey, CNAB, every pitcher has relieved at some point in their life. It's the playoffs. You adjust your starter. Warm-up program is needed. The starter is showing you slow down. Your warm-up program. Yeah, that's exactly right. 100%. So we are down to the bottom of this chat. If Ohtani relieves, you lose his bat if he doesn't finish the game. So I covered this earlier in the show. So what's going to happen in an Ohtani relief setting? Ohtani has already said he's willing to play the outfield. So he DHs until he comes in to relieve, then he comes in to pitch, and then he comes out of the game pitching. Then he goes to right field. He plays the outfield for the rest of the game. Or he gets the last 3 outs. He becomes your closer. Then you don't have to cover that situation at all. So the scenario where Ohtani is a reliever means that Ohtani is either going to finish the game. Keep in mind, Deuce, this might be a piggyback. So if Ohtani comes in the 6th inning, okay, keep in mind, Ohtani might go the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th innings because he is built up to do that. So right now he's built up to, let's say he's going to be built up to 6 innings, which means if he comes in the 4th inning, who's to say he won't finish that game, right? I mean, because he is built up for that. So just because you say Ohtani's coming in for relief, that doesn't mean he's coming in for 1 inning. That doesn't mean he's coming in for 2 innings. That could mean he's going to finish the rest of the game as a piggyback, right? But even if he does come out of the game, he still can go to right field, and he can still be in the lineup. You just wouldn't have the DH at that point. If they have a bad outing to CNAB, there's a few more innings to get it right. Hey, Tanner Scott, let Tanner Scott get his head straight. No more leverage for now. I would agree with that. And so let's do this. Not only was the bullpen hungover from last postseason, they were overused in the first half. That's a great point. Dave Brooke coming in firing. Definitely used a lot in the first half, like a Ben Kasparius, those kind of. They were overused. Overused the wrong word because you had to use them that much last year to win a World Series, but used a lot last year, overused at the beginning of this year. I think you're definitely seeing the effects of that, no doubt about that. So what we're going to do right now, we are going to transition to our Down on the Farm segment. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all the pitchers that might come in. You know, we've talked about the starters coming in and being piggyback guys. That can
Here's
solve
the one
your
out.
bullpen problem. So who are the guys actually from AAA Oklahoma City that could come in and fix your problems? So let me go ahead and click this over. Let's get to our bullpen guys, and let's do that right there. So you know who this is? This is Brock Stewart, who threw his first rehab outing, I believe yesterday in Tacoma for the AAA Oklahoma City Comets. I always want to say Dodgers. So 1 inning, 1 hit, no strikeouts, 1 walk. I'm going to put it point blank. I did not think Brock Stewart looked very good. Fastball was 95, 96. His spin touched almost 2,700, which the spin rate, the metrics were good on his fastball. I just didn't think the strike throwing looked very good. He got a pretty good, a nice catch by Justin Dean. Otherwise, the leadoff hitter would have got on. He definitely would have gave up a run if that wouldn't have happened. He gave up that double right there. He walked a batter on a non-competitive walk. So I didn't think Blake Stewart looked necessarily very good yesterday, but it is good to see Brock Stewart, I say that all the time, Brock Stewart back on the mound with his diametrically a very nice fastball working for him last night. And then also you had, let me go ahead and get to, I'm on my mobile unit, so it's a little bit harder for me to flip back and forth between the videos. Another guy that I think is a real consideration, Andrew Heaney. Andrew Heaney, hey, this is a guy, that back foot slider, that high riding four seam, the combo that the Dodgers love the go-to combo for lefties. Did Ohtani play the outfield? Anybody? He has said that he's played the outfield before, and he said that he would be willing to do that. So that's a possibility. So Andrew Heaney has looked fantastic for AAA Oklahoma City. This is a guy that the Dodgers fixed the first time. And to be honest with you, this is a guy that it looks like they're going back to the bread and butter, the high-riding fastball, the sweeping slider to the back foot of right-handers, and it really looks like they are getting Andrew Heaney fixed again. So watch out. It would not in any way, shape, or form be a surprise if the Dodgers called up Andrew Heaney and replaced a Justin Robleski or somebody like that with an Andrew Heaney, because he has looked good. He has experience in this organization in terms of having success even in high leverage moments. Dave Roberts would trust this guy. The organization would trust this guy. So I think Andrew Heaney is a guy that you really need to keep your eye on, because I think he's a guy that could be one that makes a postseason roster. A guy that I don't think will make a postseason roster. First hiccup last night. Kyle Hurt, two-thirds of an inning, 2 hits, 1 run, no strikeouts, no walks. This was not a good outing for Kyle Hurt. I know. Hey, I don't mean that to sound negative. It happens. Everybody has these. Everybody has these hiccups. Okay, so I'm not trying to say this is like, not trying to throw shade or be negative or anything, but it is what it is. 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 1 run, no strikeouts, no walks. I don't think there's any scenario in the world where the Dodgers were going to put Kyle Hurt on a postseason roster anyways, just because he doesn't have the experience. And so from that perspective, throwing a guy from a AAA rehab straight into a postseason game, I mean, that's a big jump for anybody, especially for a guy with only 8.1 major league innings. That would be so out of character for the Dodgers. So I think this hiccup probably ends any thought of Kyle Hurt being a player for a postseason roster spot. Maybe not. We'll see. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it means anything, because Kyle Hurt, I think, is going to be fantastic as we move forward. Super excited about what he can bring. I just don't think it's going to be this year. I think that would be very much so out of character for the Dodgers if it was. But again, hey, I've been wrong many times before. The Dodgers have surprised me on many different occasions. They might surprise me again. And I think it would be a surprise, too, if Bobby Miller made the postseason roster. 1.1 innings yesterday for Bobby Miller, 2 hits, 1 run, 2 strikeouts, no walks. The no walks is a good thing to see, because, he had no walks and then 2 strikeouts too. But it was another 2-strike, 2-out hit. Like 3 or 4 different times now, Bobby Miller has gotten 2 outs, 2 strikes on a hitter. And if he just gets that hitter out, then it's a scoreless outing. And then he gives up like a 86-mile-an-hour hit. And then things go downhill from there. Again, he gave up just a little lob shot with 2 outs, 2 strikes right up the middle. He gave up 2 hits. Neither one of them were considered hard contact. Really bad luck for Bobby Miller. It's frustrating as hell for him, but it is what it is. I don't see him as a real player for a playoff roster spot here. The hardest hit ball last night was 93.4. So all in all, I think yesterday's performance for Bobby Miller actually was a good one. I think it was a success. I think it was frustrating that he gave up some soft contact that made it look worse from a results perspective than it was. And then having said all that, I still don't think that he is in any way, shape, or form. I don't think he would be in consideration for a playoff roster spot. Hey, here's a guy, Will Klein, man. You're talking about he's throwing a smaller breaker in his cutter. He's throwing a bigger breaker with a sweeper. And then his fastball is really good right now. Will Klein is throwing better right now than he ever has, in my opinion, in a Dodgers uniform. Now, is this a guy that you trust? Is this a guy that the Dodgers front office will trust? I don't have those answers. I think if they did, he would have been called up before now. I just don't see them taking a guy like Will Klein, who has such limited major league experience, and sending him straight from AAA into the postseason. You would think if they wanted to rely on a guy like Will Klein, they would give him 3 weeks to a month of an adjustment period to see if he can perform in the regular season of a major league part of the year. So I think Will Klein is definitely a long shot to make any kind of postseason roster. But hey, you never know. Stranger things have happened, and I wanted to cover him because he is just simply pitching, in my opinion, better than he ever has. And then Alex Freeland here had a couple of hits last night. Actually, let me get to the 2 hits for Freeland last night. And it's good to see Freeland. Watch this. Left center right here. Left center, 2 hits to left center. And what I like about that is that opposite field gap keeps your timing a little bit deeper. The one concern I've always had for Free is the swing and miss. I think the opposite field solves a lot of those issues. And so I think it's a really good thing to see Alex Freeland going the other way and getting a couple of base hits like he did last night. So Alex Freeland has been playing very well for AAA Oklahoma City. And then another guy that's been playing very well, almost zero transition to the AA level, and that is this guy right here, Zaire Hope. Zaire Hope is absolutely tearing it up. Matter of fact, Zaire Hope had 3 hits on Saturday, and he's 5 for his last 8 with AA Tulsa with 2 doubles and 5 RBIs. So Zaire Hope has been tearing it up for AA Tulsa, who lost last night, the first game of the playoffs. So they go to Springfield and will have to win both games in Springfield on Thursday and Friday to continue their season. So, hey, it has been a great show. We've had a wonderful crowd. I want to thank everybody for logging into Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Day Network. You Dodgers Dogs are the absolute best. And so until next time, it might be with Austin and I tonight. It might be with Mark tomorrow. Just have your notifications on and wait and see when we go on. So I want to thank you so much. And again, one last reminder, it's a great day to be a Dodger.